Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another episode of the strategy series. This one seeming very important, coming off of PPT Dallas, and we don't have another event for a few weeks here, so I figured this would be a good time to go over how to counter Super Baby. So probably like the 6-month point now, probably like 6 months ago, I did a strategy series video on how to counter Vegeta Baby. A little bit different. That was when the mono red version was really the only version that existed out there. I don't really think we're going to be seeing much mono red at all. I think the yellow adds more consistency to whatever version of Baby you're playing against. Even if you do play against red Vegeta Baby leader, which is still very powerful, I think it's going to be red yellow. I think that this video is going to encompass all the different variants of Baby you could face, but of course I can't always hit everything, so if you guys have any more suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Kind of make this like a community effort to help each other out. With that being said, guys, before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a beat. Want to get involved in the Dragon Ball Super community, make sure to check out the Discord in the description below. Finally, guys, 3 ways you can help the channel out and help me keep bringing you this content. Number 1, the Patreon in the description below. Lots of competitive content for you moving into these Pro Play Tour events. Number 2, got the join button down below for the YouTube channel memberships. And finally, number 3, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards you see in this video, make sure to use my link to TCG Player or Bearded Collectibles in the description. All that stuff helps out a lot. Really appreciate each and every one of you guys. With that being said, we will get right into this. So we were talking about how to counter the new red yellow Baby archetype, and it takes a little bit of the old and a little bit of the new. So from the old, we have a Apocalypse Grudge grade A Baby, and if you looked at the event recap that I did, or any of the deck lists that were on the Facebook group, you saw that Apocalypse Grudge grade A Baby was a cornerstone of these new Baby archetypes. Of course, there are all the new tools, but those new tools actually help us play Apocalypse Grudge grade A Baby, referencing us because I am a Baby player, so I'm pretty much telling you guys how to beat me, which is really funny, but I think it's really important information for people out there that are struggling with dealing with Baby. So we're able to summon Apocalypse Grudge grade A Baby more easily. We were always able to play it on turn 2, but now it's a little bit easier because of all the new cards. Likewise, we have Super Baby 2 Malicious Majesty, which is kind of like the other side of the boss monster of the deck, whether you're playing against what I'll call main set Baby aggro, because I think the main set leader really can only work well with aggro. It can't really pivot to that mid-range type of play like the starter Baby and Vegeta Baby leaders can. But you're probably going to see this card in every version of the deck no matter what it is. So we're going to talk about how to counter both of these strategies, both relatively mid-range but also pretty aggressive. So speaking of aggro, this is more so going to be a counter to that main set aggro Baby we'll talk about first off, and that is Flying Nimbus and Topo Righteous Aid. So the idea of the main set Baby deck is to, by turn 3, they're going to tap out for their main play, which is Arrival into the 4-drop All-Consuming Terror Vegeta Baby, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and they want to evolve, or unit absorb, sorry, into that Malicious Majesty that we just looked at. What Malicious Majesty will do is it will pitch 3 cards, take a life to their hand, and they'll be able to decrease your entire board and your leader by 20k power. So your leader will be a minus 5k power. Their leader will trigger to gain a triple attack skill, so they can swing with that 3 times. They have the ability to play brainwash battle cards for free, so they could play a 20k Gohan for more pressure, and they're going to swing at you with that Malicious Majesty as well as anything else they have on their board. So very aggressive turn 3 kill, but nowhere near unbeatable. A lot of people make it sound a lot scarier than it is, but if you're playing the right answers, or the right colors, I guess, you're able to deal with that relatively efficiently. I think most colors can deal with it, and we'll talk about different ways that they can do that in different slides. But firstly, we have Flying Nimbus and Topo Righteous Aid. So me personally playing Baby, I don't play the ultra aggro version, but these cards can give you a bit of a problem. Topo more so than Flying Nimbus, because while you don't really have answers to Nimbus, you could play Swift Retaliation Cooler, but that's not a really energy efficient answer. Likewise with Topo, we don't have things like Denial of Hope at our disposal. We don't have things like Desperate Measures at our disposal unless we're really going to try and tech that blue, which I think is kind of inconsistent. So we don't really have a whole lot of interaction with Topo or Flying Nimbus. The best thing we have is Revenge Final Flash, which the opponent could actually negate by pitching an extra card, so there's that. But these cards are pretty much going to make the Baby players turn off their turns for the most part. Now, can you push through a Topo? Depends. It depends on the game state. Your opponent could have very little cards in hand to defend with, especially because they're going to be a minus 5,000 leader, and if you only need to get 1, 2, or 3 attacks off, and if you have enough cards to discard, maybe you can play through the Topo, but it's not very likely. Flying Nimbus, really going to be hard to to play through. You do get to swing all 3 times with the leader, but it's still a small leader swing. Like, if you think about it, it's basically a 15k leader to your 0 power. So I don't know, depending on what you have in your hand, again, super combos or other negates, you might be able to survive that onslaught. The leader's not the most threatening thing they swing with, so that's not the worst thing. But overall, these cards are going to be the anti-aggro options you want. Now, I do want to mention Senzu Bean as a card here, because kind of when everyone thinks about anti-aggro, Senzu Bean's usually the first card people think of. That's not going to be ultimately efficient against this deck unless you have multiple Senzu Beans, because they do minus your leader by so much. Like, realistically, it would take 2 beans to get your leader even back to 5k power. And while that is much better than being at negative 5k power, it's not the most efficient thing. But if you are in blue, if you are in blue-green, for example, that's probably going to be one of your better bets. You obviously are still going to play Senzu Bean, so you want to use it to the best of your ability. So I would pretty much hold it for their kill turn and try and use it as best I could there. Next up, we have Super Baby 1 All-Consuming Terror. This is really the playmaker of the deck. This is the guy that comes down usually on turn 2, sometimes on turn 3 if they don't see the combo. And this is the guy that either Union Absorbs into Malicious Majesty, or this is the guy they're going to evolve into Apocalypse Grudge Great Ape. Now, there is a lot of counterplay to this. This card is not nearly unbeatable, especially just because it has barrier. If you're playing red, you have Denial of Hope, and red, of course, is a color that it's not in the hugest scene right now. Like, you know, we saw a lot of yellow leaders in the PPT top cut. We saw some blue leaders. We saw a few other colors here and there, and red was in that top cut. But this is just another facet that red has to deal with this. And if you're in green, don't be afraid, also because you do have Preemptive Strike as well. Now, here's what happens. Baby has a lot of outplay to their answers, but it's not perfect outplay. It's not like the best situation for them to be in. So for example, if you wanted to out Denial of Hope or out Preemptive Strike as Baby, you'd have to have 2 Super Baby 1s in your hand. You'd have to then pay another yellow to arrival a second one in that combo step. What does that mean? Well, if you're going for a turn 2 Apocalypse Grudge Great Ape, you're not going to have the energy to do so. So really not a great situation. You could go up into the 5-drop power booster if you really wanted to, and you definitely wouldn't have enough energy to Union Absorb. So you do pretty much halt them by a turn, and you trade a card 1 for 1, and that 1 for 1 trade equals a lot of tempo in your favor as the player using Denial of Hope. And of course, Preemptive Strike is not pictured here, but that card is a huge step up for green leaders against Baby, so I did want to mention that. Next up, we have Removal. So, of course, Baby is dropping really big boys on you. They've got the Apocalypse Grudge Great Ape Baby and Malicious Majesty, like we keep talking about. Now, what are your answers for that? A splashable one that just about every single deck in the game can play, Dimensional Banisher Fu. You've also got a few extra cards, I believe, like some Slumber Strike and Father Son Kamehameha, that deal with like cheated into play battle cards that are greater than the energy cost, so those will work as well. Again, they do have minor outplay to this because they do have a card like Strategies of Universe 7 that gives Red Sans Barrier, but they're not always going to have it. They might not even always run it. It is a clunky extra card in a kind of clunky 10k deck, so that is something to consider. Piccolo Assimilated Ability, while not great against the Apocalypse Grudge Great Ape, it is good against Malicious Majesty. It's also good against that main set aggro version of Baby, because like I said before, they are going to free play their Brainwash, so this will pop Gohans, draw you back cards. And of Carly, Piccolo Assimilated Ability is also great because it means you can play early defense. Like, let's just say they're leader swinging at your leader, and you know, you're at like 7-6 life and they're just attacking with the leader. At most situations of the game, you just take that as free damage because, you know, it's not really worth wasting the 5k to not take it. But if you're gonna drop Piccolo Assimilated Ability later on, you can afford to block that early damage with, like, you know, 1-card combos, because Piccolo Assimilated Ability is going to draw you those cards back, and in that sense, it's a really good investment to protect your life early, get to that turn 4 or turn 3 if you're ramping, and then, you know, play Piccolo Assimilated Ability. It works out really, really well. So those removal options are good. But I talked about outplay to removal that Baby has, and one of those things is Strategy Universe 7. The other thing is Baby Vengeful Blow. So when you do remove one of their babies from the battle area, they get to play this guy for free. Then they can Union Absorb a Vegeta GT from the drop area, which is very easy for them to get to the drop area. And they get to play a baby with 30,000 power from their hand on top of it. No energy commitment, nothing like that. All they have to do is just play this guy, have it in hand when you remove their baby. So the thing with that is it's another outplay to removal. But what you could do is use something like Mafuba, especially if you are in blue or blue-green, or if your leader's green but you're playing blue, whatever the case is, any blue splash can play Mafuba, and that is a removal answer to the 6-drop baby, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't count as removing it from the battle area by a skill, so Mafuba should bypass both Strategies of Universe 7 and baby Vengeful Blow. If you are playing a card like Piccolo Assimilated Ability, I believe he's a god. Let's go back really quick. Okay, sorry, he's not a god, but if you are playing any other green god, Piccolo, Namekian decks, you do have Heroes Mafuba to use with that as well. Has a pretty similar effect. And last slide, guys, we've got just a few silver bullet cards that do hurt baby. Haru Haru, of course, they are playing typically a yellow leader. Sometimes it's the red leader, so maybe this isn't the best side deck coverall option, but that is the case against the yellow version. If you're playing a more aggressive strategy, Haru Haru can help you kill them before they kill you. And likewise, guys, we have Dark Power Black Mass Sand. Now, this card is pretty bad against the red version because they clear it for free, and it's not the best against starter baby, but it is pretty good against the main set aggro baby version because the yellow leaders don't have really instant removal to this guy, and if they are playing the main set aggro, they're going to be, again, trying to drop those brainwash for free. So if they want to play the Trunks, if they want to play the Goten, they're going to have to pitch 2 cards in the face of Dark Power Black Mass Sand. But this also does hit other cards like Super Baby 1 the Conqueror, which says if your opponent takes 2 damage in the turn, you play it for free. It is a 15k, so do keep that in mind. There are a few cards in the archetype that Dark Power Black Mass Sand does hit. So guys, this is basically the list I came up with for what counters Super Baby. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. Again, if you have other tips and strategies, definitely leave them down below. Make sure to check out the comments for those other tips. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time.